Hello friends, today your friend Juggler is going to telling you about, what if Naruto become the second Juubi, part 3. Check the creator from link given in the description, and if you enjoy this video then please like, share and subscribe my channel. Let's start the story. After leaving Gato's estate in ruin, Naruto and Fu the Nanabe Jinchuriki made their way into the forests of Nami no Kuni. Naruto turned to Fu, "Let's stop here for now, there is something I have to do," Naruto said as he opened the large summoning scroll he was given by the old lady back at the tyrant's former home. In the scroll there were only 3 names were listed on the scroll, making Naruto the 4th person to sign it. Naruto bit his thumb and wrote his name in blood, then pressed his blood-covered fingers under it. Unlike a normal contract where the name remains red, his signature turned golden. "Okay, let's try this," Naruto said as he preformed the hand signs for the summoning jutsu, then slammed his palm on the ground. In a grand plume of smoke the boss of the Jackal contract appeared before them. While he wasn't as big as Gamabunta or the 2 other boss-level toads, he was still large. The Jackal boss was about 3 stories tall, with smooth black fur running down its back with golden fur covering the rest of its body. "Who dares summon the Jackal boss Jakaru?" the large dog-like summon demanded before looking down at the 2 humans in front of him. "I summoned you," Naruto said as he took a step towards the large summon. The Jackal boss lowered its head so that it was now face to snout with the blonde demon. The large canine seemed to be examining the blonde as his eyes scanned the blonde's body. You smell of baijuyu and have the same feel as one, only more natural, as if you were one with nature," the summon boss said to the blonde Juubi as it sniffed Naruto's scent. "I see it now. You are the Juubi, aren't you, boy?" Jakaru said to Naruto, who nodded. Naruto smiled up at the large animal. "Yes, I am Naruto Namikaze, the Nidame Juubi," Naruto said as he offered a hand to the Jakaru. The black-backed jackal moved one of its paws to shake Naruto's hand with one of his large claws. "It is an honor to serve you, Juubi Dano. You may call on Out Clan whenever you wish. The Jackal clan specializes in tracking and scavenging. We are also fluent in fire and earth jutsu but prefer to stay out of combat," the boss of the Jackal contract stated to the demon lord, who nodded. "Thank you, Jakaru-san. Oh, and call me Naruto, okay?" Naruto said to the boss, who nodded. Fu just watched the 2 interact since this wasn't her business. "Very well, Naruto-sama. If that is all, then I'll be on my way," Jakaru said as he left in a flume of smoke. Naruto turned to Fu. "Okay, let's get back to the main village," Naruto said as he placed a hand on Fu's shoulder and vanished into thin air, not noticing the slight red glow of a single Sharingan hidden in the shadows of the foliage. "He may be a problem," the man said before he vanished into a swirl coming from his lone eye. Tajuma's house. Naruto and Fu appeared before the group. Kazumi was the first to react. "Naruto-san, how did it go?" oldest Kunoichi asked the blonde. Naruto smirked and unsealed Gato's head and threw it on the table. The residents of the house gasped as they looked at the fear-stricken face of the man who had made their lives a living hell. He's dead," Tajima said as tears gathered in his eyes at the sight of the man he hated dead. "He's finally dead," he cried in cheer as he hugged his daughter. Inari looked at the head in shock. He had believed that Gato was invincible a few seconds before, but now here it was, proof that the great Gato had fallen at last. He looked up at Naruto, who was talking with his team. "Heroes do exist," he thought with a teary smile. "So were there any complications?" the silver-haired Jonin asked as she stared at Fu. "I ran into a Akatsuki member known as Haiden. He was a pain to get rid of since he can't be killed," Naruto said, much to the surprise of the team. They were shocked for 2 reasons. One was that the Haiden could not be killed according to Naruto. 2 was that Naruto fought Haiden and technically won. "What do you mean that he can't be killed?" Sayuri asked her lover. "How was it possible for someone to be killable?" "I mean that he is literally immortal." Naruto said with a sigh. The four kunoichi's jaws dropped at the motion that someone had gained immortality. How did he gain immortality? Narumi asked with wide eyes. Naruto frowned. He gained it by joining the Jashinist cult. They perform human sacrifices to please their god, who in turn grants them immortality. While the cult seems like a choice that anyone in the shinobi business should do, the trails for joining the cult bring the body to a point where it would fail or the mind would break from pain. Also, the blessing of Jashin fills your mind with dark thoughts which slowly break away at your sanity. Naruto explained with a scowl at the thought of the cult. How do you know so much of the cult, Naruto? Fu asked the former Jinchuriki. I've fought a member before. They are a pain in the ass to beat, since the only way to do so would be cut of their limbs and restrain them, trap them so they can't move, completely obliterate the body, drain their chakra, which is hard to do since they rarely use ninjutsu or genjutsu, and lastly you can rip their souls out of their body. Naruto explained to the kunoichi, who nodded to show that they understood. Kazumi looked at Fu. So who are you and where to fit the tale on how Naruto killed Gato? The kunoichi asked the green-haired girl. I was going to be sold to the Akatsuki by Gato since I am the Jinchuriki of the Nanabi. Fu said with a scowl at the thought of what almost became her fate. Naruto rescued me and the other slaves, so I decided to come with him back to Konoha. The dark-skinned girl said with a small smile at the thought of her savior. That explains why the Akatsuki were here, but that still doesn't tell us how Gato got a Jinchuriki. Kazumi stated in confusion. They sold me to him so that they could get rid of me. The council back at Taki decided that I was too much of a risk, so one day I was attacked, bound with chains and seals, then shipped off to Gato's. Fu told her story of betrayal. Narumi brought her into a hug. I'm sorry for all you had to go through, the blonde said with a few tears threatening to spill out. It wasn't your fault. It was those bastard in Taki who are at fault. Fu said with a wide smile. Naruto smiled at the interaction. The blonde noticed Zabuza leaning against the wall at the other side of the room. Walking over to him, Naruto smiled. Well, it seems like your information was correct, Naruto said. Naruto pulled out a scroll. As promised. This scroll has the location where you and the Umbu will meet. It also has the password that you will need to know in order for them to follow you, Naruto said as he handed the scroll over to the swordsman. Rude, Naruto called out as a Umbu appeared next to him in Shunshin. Naruto pulled out another scroll. Give this scroll to the Hokage. The rude Umbu nodded and shined to complete his mission. Wow, for a second I thought that you had been bluffing about having Umbu at your command, Zabuza said with a smirk that was hidden by the bandages over his mouth. So how about we have a battle now? Swords and taijutsu only, no genjutsu, ninjutsu, or dojutsu. Zabuza suggested, putting extra emphasis on the word dojutsu since he knew he stood no chance in hell of beating the blonde if he used his Tengen. Naruto smirked. I believe that that's a great idea. Let's go outside, Naruto said as he led Zabuza out of the house. The others who had heard the challenge followed to see the fight. Both fighters faced each other as they got into their stances. Ready? Zabuza asked the blonde, who nodded. Haku, be the ref. Zabuza ordered his apprentice. The ice user nodded, stepping forward. Fight, she said as she threw her arms down. Zabuza wasted no time as he charged straight at Naruto, who brought his sword up to block the horizontal strike from the missing nin. Naruto disengaged as he jumped back before running at Zabuza in a zigzag pattern and delivering as cut from the right, which Zabuza blocked with his massive blade. Before Zabuza could retaliate, Naruto vanished from Zabuza's sight in a burst of speed. The Nukenin's honed battle instincts told him that he was in danger. The browless man turned in time to block another attack from Naruto. The two blades clashed with each other, sending sparks everywhere as the two grinned against each other. You're good. Zabuza laughed out in joy of finding someone who could give him a good sword fight. Zabuza jumped back and threw the large Zanbato at Naruto, who leaped over it towards Zabuza. The former swordsman of the mist sidestepped Naruto's vertical slash and ran to his sword that was stuck on the trunk of a tree. Naruto ran at Zabuza to try to stop him from retrieving his blade, but was forced to duck when Zabuza reached the handle as swung a wide attack. Seeing an opening, Naruto launched forward in an attempt to skewer the browless man. Zabuza managed to move enough so that Naruto's blade only scratched his lower chest. Zabuza ignored the pain and took another swing at our blonde hero, only for said demon to jump on the flat side of the blade, which was followed by a swift kick to Zabuza's jaw. The former mist shinobi went flying back but stopped himself by stabbing his blade into the ground. Naruto rushed at the nuke nin to try to finish the match. Zabuza had the same idea and charged at the blonde as well. Right before they clashed, Naruto blurred from existence. "What?" Zabuza thought in surprise. "Behind you," Naruto said calmly as he stood with his back to Zabuza. The missing nin turned only to be hit in the chest with a heavy kick that launched him back with neck-breaking force. Zabuza's flight was cut short by a 3 which nearly fell over from the force of the collision. Naruto appeared in front of Zabuza with his sword to Zabuza's neck. "I win," Naruto said with a neutral expression that showed no emotions. Zabuza saw it now. He saw what Naruto really was. He was someone who had seen every horror war had to offer, seen every single person he loved killed, and would do anything in his power to prevent those who are important to him from dying. Outside of battle he was a friend, but once engaged in combat he was a warrior who would end a life if it meant accomplishing his goals. He was someone he could respect. "I must admit, you're good, Gaki," Zabuza said with a light chuckle. "I give." Naruto smiled and removed his blade from Zabuza's neck. "That was good fight," Naruto said. 1 week later, Naruto, his team, Haku, and Fu stood at the end of the bridge. It had taken a week for Tajuna and his builders to finish the bridge after Naruto had taken out Gato. With the money Naruto had given to the village, the economy flourished now. Zabuza had explained to Haku that he had to leave and that she had to go with Naruto to Konoha. While she did protest leaving him, he accepted after Zabuza confessed that he thought of her like a daughter and that he didn't want her to see the kind of war like that in Kiri at such a young age. Naruto now wore a new outfit that he had made using the Banbutsu Sozo. He wore a black t-shirt with a white X on the chest with black umbu-style pants and boots. Over this he wore a white coat that spit at the waist into 10 tails that reached his ankles with a high collar that had 10 points. On the back was the image of the Rinnegan with 9 tomo under it. Around his neck a Megatama necklace with 6 red beads. He had to admit, these clothes felt more like they belonged then. The ones that Kami gave him a few months ago. "Zabuza, I received a notice yesterday that the root Umbu have been mobilized and will be there when you arrive at Umi no Kuni," Naruto said with a small smile, knowing that he was helping in ending the bloodline wars. Zabuza nodded. "Thank you, Naruto-sama. I hope to see you one day when I'm Mizukage," the browless man said. "Please don't call me Naruto-sama," Naruto said as he scratched the back of his head. Zabuza laughed at this. "I miss you, Zabuza-sama," Haku said with a sad smile, knowing that she was parting ways with the man who raised her and saved her life back in Mizu no Kuni. "HN. Just stay safe, Haku-chan, and remember, if any boy in Konoha tries to touch you inappropriately without your permission, I give you the right to kill them," the man said with a smirk as he saw his daughter figure blush from what he was saying. "Well, I believe that we should get going now," Kazumi said to her group as she started to walk away while reading her orange book. The group nodded and followed closely behind her. Naruto stayed a second and handed a Hiraishin Konao to Tajuna. "If anyone ever tries to threaten your country like Gato did, don't be afraid to summon me," Naruto said before he left after his group. Hearing a bird's cry, Naruto looked up to see a Konoha messenger hawk circling over him. Whistling at it, the bird flew down towards Naruto, leaving a scroll for him. Opening it, he read the message from the Hokage. It was a message telling him that the Chunin exams would be in Konoha like he said that it would. This time, I'll make sure that Orochimaru doesn't get his mark on his target. Naruto thought Konoha after Naruto and his team had arrived. Naruto and Kazumi had given the Hokage the mission report. Haku and Fu had been given temporary asylum in the village under the Namikaze household until further notice. After Kazumi left, the real conversation began. Rokudaime Dano, the war council has gathered. Hiruzen said as he motioned for Naruto to follow him through a fake wall on the side of the room. Within were 6 chairs around a large round table with a map of the elemental nations. Out of the 6 chairs 4 of them were filled. The 4 who were already there were Shikaku Nara. The next was the Umbu commander, who was dressed in a white cloak and black trousers with bandages tied around his right leg, arm guards, gloves and black sandals. He also had brown, spiky, hair and wears a mask with a dog motif inclusive of pointer ears, detailed eyebrows, and 3 thick stripes with 2 along either sides of his cheek and 1 on his forehead. Next was Danzo Shimura and lastly Jiraiya of the Sunin. Looks like we are all here, Hiruzen said. Naruto looked around. The group consisted of some of the top officers in Konoha, the Umbu commander, the main strategist, the most powerful Sunin, the leader of Root Umbu, the current Hokage and himself the Rokudaime Hokage. Everyone in the room was one of the few people who knew that he was from a dimension. So how are we going to handle the invasion? The Umbu commandeer asked the other 5 in the room. Hiruzen looked over at Naruto. Rokudaime Dano, how was the invasion in your world before? The Hokage asked the Demon Lord. Naruto closed his eyes as he remembered that day. The attack was completely unexpected. The village was not ready for the strike, which resulted in a large number of casualties. Orochimaru's plan was to let the Ichiban Jinchuriki rampage within the village while several 3-head snakes are summoned. Away from the village, Wickjay broke through the walls of the village. In the Chunin exam stadium, Kabuto Yakushi placed a genjutsu over the civilian while several Oto and Suna shinobi dresses like civilians attacked. Orochimaru would then attack the Sandaime while his elite guard create a barrio trapping the 2 inside. He would then use the Edo Tensei to revive the Shodaime and Nidaime to help him. Naruto explained the event that happened on the day that he lost his Jiji. I think I got an idea, Shikaku said to himself as he started to think of a counter against the plan. I propose that we alert the Umbu about the invasion and the experienced Jonin. We will announce the plan to the Chunin and lower-ranking Jonin over headsets right before the invasion, since the biggest chance that a spy would be a Chunin or Genin, the Nara clan head. What about the summons? Danzo asked. I say that the remains of your root strike the groups in charge of the summons. Jiraiya-sama should use his summons to guard the village gate and make sure that they don't get more ninja into the village. Namikaze-sama will take care of the Jinchuriki, then go and assist the Sandaime in battle with Orochimaru. The Nara leader explained to the rest, who nodded at the plan. Very well, go with your plan, Shikaku. This council meeting is over, we shall meet once more after the second exam, Hiruzen said to the others who left in Shunshin or Hirasen in Naruto's case. Naruto jumped from roof to roof as he made his way through the village. In 2 days was the start of the Chunin exams and his team was in it. Hearing yelling, he came to the familiar sight, Kankuro picking on Konohamaru. Really, this again? Naruto thought as he jumped down from the roofs behind the Suna shinobi. You know that picking of the Hokage's grandson could lead to problem between our villages, Naruto whispered into the Catman's ear. The Suna ninja quickly paled as he dropped the kid. Temari, on the other hand, couldn't help but blush. He's hot, the blonde thought as a faint blush dusted her cheeks. Good, now can you please tell me what this boy did that you, a shinobi, would have to threaten him? Naruto asked with an overly sweat smile as he leaked a bit of killer intent that caused a redhead watching from the trees to blush at the bloodlust. I am sorry, sir, it was a misunderstanding, Kankuro said, raising his hands in defense from the blonde, who smirked at the puppet user's reaction. Naruto smiled in satisfaction, turning to Tamari, "Nice to meet you, beautiful, may I know your name?" he said to the fan user, causing her entire face to go red. "Tamari," she said as she looked at the ground. The girl intrigued glared down at the blonde kunoichi who had gained the attention of the blonde man. "Nice to meet you, Tamari-chan," Naruto said as he took her right hand and planted a kiss on it. He always did have a crush on the desert kunoichi in his world but never had time to ask her out. Turning to one of the trees near the road, "You can come out, you know," Naruto said. In a swirl of sand, a red-haired beauty appeared before the three shinobi. She had dark red hair that reached her mid-back and parted on the left, leaving the kanji for love exposed on her forehead with a bang framing her left side. Like Gaara, she had back lining around her eyes. Her emotionless emerald green, which held a radiant beauty behind them, buried behind all the pain she had lived through. She wore a black full-body suit with t-shirt-like sleeves, 3/4 length legs, and an open neck. With this, she wore a pink cloth over his right shoulder and the left side of her hips, and a wide leather band system over the left shoulder and right side of her hips. With this leather band, she carried around her gourd that contains her sand. She also wrapped her black forehead protector over the band. However, what really got Naruto's eyes were her perky D cups. "Damn your Jiraiya," Naruto thought. "Kankuro, I thought I told you to not cause any commotion," the female Gaara said with a bit of killer intent and bloodlust. The puppet user tried to defend himself but only earned another blast of ki from the red-haired Jinchuriki silenced him. "Quite, or I'll kill you," she said in a dark tone. Turning to Naruto, a nearly unnoticeable pink dusted her cheeks. "I apologize for my brother's foolish actions." Naruto waved it off. "It's okay. But may I know your name?" Naruto said with a kind smile which caused both the female Gaara and Tamari to blush a bit darker. "It's Gaia," she said in a neutral tone that betrayed no emotion. Naruto grinned. "I'm Naruto Namikaze, current head of the Namikaze clan and genin of Konoha," Naruto said to the shock of the three sand shinobi in front of him. Naruto mentally smirked at their reaction. At least they didn't mistake me as my father, Naruto thought with a mental sigh of relief. Gaia bowed lightly. "Nice to meet you, Namikaze-san." While she wasn't one for formalities to someone she didn't know, she knew that the blonde must have some political sway if he was a clan head. Naruto's sweat dropped at this. "Please, Naruto is fine. Calling me that makes me feel old," Naruto said with a smile. He discreetly placed a hand on his sword and formed the connection to Gaara in the afterlife. "Yo Gaara, are you there?" Naruto asked, but made sure to block out any chance that Gaia had of entering the conversation since he didn't need an unknown know his secret. "Yes, I am Naruto, what is it?" Gaara asked the blonde. He could almost feel the former Hokage's grin. "I finally found your counterpart and I have to say, dude, she is hot," Naruto responded with a smirk as Gaara's irritation flowed from the sword. "I thought I told you to never mind, you wouldn't listen anyways," Gaara said as he rubbed the bridge of his nose back in heaven. "Just take care of her," Gaara said as he cut the connection to avoid any further headache. "We'll be leaving now," Gaia said as she motioned for her siblings to follow her. He was cute, she thought to herself, but hesitated a bit when the foreign word came to mind. "Please, he'll just betray you like everyone else will. Remember that you can only trust your mother," Shikaku said to her from her mind as he tried to devour as much of her sanity he could through the broken seal that placed on the girl. He could feel the power that the boy held and didn't want to give the blonde the chance to suppress him. "Yes, Mother Gaia," though back to the Baijuyu who laughed like a maniac from her mind as he tried to crush all hope she had about finding someone who could understand her. "Good, now get me some more blood," Mother demands, Shikaku said with a dark crackle. Before Gaia could respond, Naruto called out to her, "Hey, want to hang out a bit tomorrow?" I would love to get to know someone from a different village, Naruto said with a large grin. He would help her out as much as he can so that she doesn't go on a rampage like Gaara did all those years ago. Don't, child. He'll just betray you just like that traitorous uncle did. Shikaka roared as he desperately tried to convince her of rejecting the hand of friendship offered to her by bringing up one of the most painful moments of her life. No, Gaia said coldly as she walked away from the blonde who frowned at the response. He knew he would have to do something about that dog Shikaku who was manipulating her from the inside. Naruto's smile returned back at full force. Okay then, see you at the Chunin exams, Naruto said as he walked away from the who looked back at him, wondering the same thing. How did he know? 2 days later, Naruto and his team walked into the academy building as they prepared to take the Chunin exams. Neither Sayuri or Narumi knew about the invasion since they were genin, so Naruto couldn't tell them anything. His team stopped in front of a door. What is this? Sayuri growled as she saw an illusion over the door showing the wrong number. Drop the IL. She was cut off by Naruto, who covered her mouth. Be quiet, S.A.Chan, it was put there to weed out the weak and foolish, Naruto whispered as he pushed her along. Stop right there, you three. We have taken the exams over 10 times and still failed. What makes you think that academy fresh genin like you can? One of the two who stood in front of the door said, letting out a spike of ki to let them know just who he was. Are you saying that the Namikaze head, Kyuubi Jinchuriki, and the last loyal Uchiha aren't really? Naruto said as his Tengen flashed for a split second. Both guards paled as they realized just who they had insulted. Both quickly ran away, pushing a few genin out of the way as they ran. I challenge you to a spar, a boy with overly thick eyebrows and bowl hair, cut wearing a green skin-tight jumpsuit and green leg warmers, yelled as he pointed at Sayuri. Behind him both his teammates looked embarrassed. No, Naruto said in a firm tone. Who are you? Sayuri asked. I'm Konoha's beautiful green wild beast, Rock Lee, he said as he did a nice guy pose. Now I demand a spar from you, Sayuri-chan, he said as he pointed at the Uchiha once again. I said no, Naruto said in a firm tone once again. In his world, Sasuke had lost badly and contributed to him turning to the path of evil. Oh, you're Yondaime-sama, Rock Lee said as he realized who he was talking to. Naruto face faulted before glaring at the green-wearing genin. I am not Minato Namikaze. I am Naruto Namikaze. Naruto yelled at the boy who took a step back at the large amount of ki to him that exploded from the blonde. My apologies, Naruto-kun, Lee said as he bowed before going on about he would run 200 laps around the village if he ever forgot Naruto's name again. Whatever, Naruto said as he and his team entered the exam room. The room was filled with Chunin hopefuls who, upon seeing Naruto and his team, decided to try to intimidate them with their ki, which Naruto thought was pathetic. This, however, was put to an end when one of the shinobi from Iwaz yelled out something that really pissed Naruto off. It's the Yondaime Hokage, the shinobi yelled out, which launched the whole room into an uproar of koas. Really? An entire room of genin think that I'm my father? Naruto thought as he released a bit of his killer intent, which caused everyone in the room to pale. I am not Minato Namikaze, Naruto said through gritted teeth. Seeing the state of everyone in the room caused Naruto to sweat drop. This is going to be easy, Naruto said as he and his team, followed by Team 9, walked into the room. The other Konoha team was shocked to see the power that Naruto had. To be able to bring down a room of ninja even if they were genin was an achievement, considering he was also a genin. Naru-kun, Naruto heard from behind as Ino ran and jumped into his arms. Naruto had decided to take her as one of his official girlfriends after the mission to Nami no Kuni. Ino quickly claimed his lips, leading into a quick makeout session. He's not all yours, you know, Inyuko's voice said from the door as she and her team entered the room. Behind her was Shino and Hinata. Now one would expect that Hinata would still be the shy but kind girl she was always, right? Wrong. In this world she was a significantly colder and much more confident Hyuga like most of her family. He had found that without someone to look up to as a role model she ended up breaking down. Quite mud. Hinata said as she walked past her teammates and up to Narumi. A faint blush dusted her cheeks. Narumi-chan, would you like to come over to the Hyuga compound after this exam is over to have a little fun? The Hyuga era said to the blonde Namikaze. Hinata-san, I already told you that I'm in a relationship already and I don't play for that team. Narumi cried out. The Hyuga heiress had been trying to get her to agree to go out with her since the academy, but she had told her time and time again that she was in love with someone else. The Hyuga activated her Byakugan and glared at Naruto. I will have her one day, she said before storming off. Naruto's sweat dropped as at the Hinata's behavior. He knew that she was still loyal to the village and had a heart deep inside as shown for her love of Narumi. You guys should learn to be quiet, yo. A silver-haired genin from Konoha that Naruto knew all too well. He wasn't able to finish his sentence as Naruto planted his fist into his gut. Shut it, snake. Naruto growled as he tossed him towards the man's teammates. Everyone looked at Naruto in shock but decided not to say anything in fear that they would suffer the same fate of the glasses-wearing genin. Naruto would have killed him, but that would have alerted Orochimaru to their plans to take him out. All right, no more fighting. A voice boomed out as Ibiki Marino, a large man wearing a black trench coat and bandana-style forehead protector, ordered. Any more fighting and you'll be disqualified. The TNI expert threatened. Naruto looked at Ibiki and nodded. Walking over to his seat, he found himself between the pissed of Hinata, who was glaring at him for stealing the girl she wanted, and a IWA shinobi who was glaring at him for being related and looking like the yondaime who had decimated their forces several years ago. The first exam is a written exam. You have 1 hour to answer the 9 questions given to you and one more at the end. If you are caught cheating, you will lose 2 points of your total score the first time, for the second and 6 the last time, which will be an instant failure. If your score is less than 1 when the exam ended, then you and your teammates are disqualified. Ibiki explained the rules of the test. They were a bit different from the time he took them, but they were similar enough. Naruto answered all the questions within a few minutes thanks to his amount of experience in the battlefield. He looked around and decided to take a nap. Our blonde demonic hero was awoken by Ibiki telling everyone that there was 10 minutes left and he would giving the finale question. This finale question is different from the rest. If you want, you can leave now and take the test again in 6 months, the scared special Jonin said. Why would we quit? We already took the other questions. Inyako asked the proctor. Ibiki smirked, because if you get this question wrong, then you will be barred from ever taking a Chunin exam in any country or village ever again. He said with a sadistic smirk as all the genin gasped at what he was implying would happen. But that's not fair. Tamari protested. There are people here who have taken the exam several times before and they never had to do this stupid question. Well, your group was unfortunate enough to get me as the proctor, so I make the rules. Now choose. And just like over half the teams quit, including a team with a certain weak Pinkett Banshee who was glaring at her for quitting. Unlike last time, Naruto didn't yell out that it was bullshit since he didn't have to worry about Sakura quitting. After most of the teams left, leaving only about 23 teams left. Well then. All of you who remained, you pass. Ibiki said with a smirk at all the shocked faces he was receiving from the remaining genin. In the shinobi world, you sometimes have to make hard decisions. In the field, bad information could lead your team to their doom. He said as he removed his bandana, showing everyone the burn scars and holes in his head. He put back on the bandana and was about to continue when he was interrupted by something sewing through the window. In front of the room now was what had just broken the window with a large banner behind her. The banner read, "The sexy and single, second exam proctor Anko Mittarashi." The woman known as Anko had light brown, pupil-less eyes and violet hair which is styled in a short, spiky, fan ponytail. She wore a tan overcoat with a purple inseam, which had a pocket on both sides, and complete with a fitted mesh bodysuit that stretches from her neck down to her thighs. She wore a dark orange miniskirt, as well as a forehead protector, a small pendant that looks like a snake fang on a thick cord rather than a chain to prevent it from being easily torn off in combat, a wristwatch, and pale gray shin guards. She also wore a dark blue belt around her waist that connects to her skirt that has an appendage-like sash. "Come on brats, I'm the second proctor Anko Mittarashi. Now let's get going," she said before seeing Naruto. Smirking, she shunshined over to him and wrapped her arms around his neck from behind. "Oh Naruto-kun, you're in the exams," she whispered into his ear. The two had a weird relationship. She would try to seduce him. Why he would do the same, yet they weren't an official couple yet. Naruto smiled. He had always found Anko's sadistic yet playful personality was always something that made a good day into a great day for him. "Yes, I am Anko-chan, maybe after this I could take you to dinner," Naruto asked with a charming smile. "Oh, you want to take little ol' me to dinner, huh? We'll see," she said before sunshining. Back in front of the room. "Anko, you're early again," Ibiki said as he pushed his way through the banner. Anko looked extremely embarrassed. "Who cares?" she said as she turned to the large group. "Meet me in the forest of death in 10 minutes, you're out," she said before she jumped out another window, which caused Ibiki to sigh once again. Naruto and his team stood at one of the gates to the dangerous training ground. After the first exam, everyone who passed was lead on a wild goose chance after Anko until they arrived at the forest of death. Once they got there, Anko explained the rules of the second exam. Half of the genin that passed the first exam would get an earth scroll while the other half would get a heaven scroll. The teams would then be released into the forest of death, which was full of dangerous animals and plants that could kill a genin if not careful. His team had gotten an earth scroll and were a few minutes from entering the forest. The blonde Juubi turned to his teammates, "Be careful out there," he said as he handed a Hiraishin Kunao to each of them. "If you two get into any danger, don't hesitate to summon me," Naruto said before the doors opened. He wasn't allowed to tell them about Orochimaru since it could compromise the plan to counter the invasion, and he couldn't risk Orochimaru learning about the plan. "It'll be alright, Naru-kun, both me and Sayuri-chan are at least high Chunin level." Narumi reassured him that they would be fine, but Naruto knew that a Chunin stood no chance against Orochimaru. "Yeah, Naru-kun, everyone knows we are the best genin team in the village," Sayuri said with no small amount of pride in her voice as the doors opened. The team ran into the forest and took to the trees to quicken their pace. "Don't get overconfident," Naruto said. After a few hours of traveling, they ran into a group of rain ninja who they quickly disposed of. Unfortunately, they had the wrong scroll and they had to continue to search for another team. By the end of the first day, they were about a third of the way to the tower but had no scroll. They could have made it to the tower by now if they didn't have to get the scroll. Out of the 3 teams they faced so far today, they all had earth scrolls. Naruto cursed his luck since there was a higher chance now that they would run into Orochimaru in the forest. Time skip, morning, Naruto woke up early with the sound of a scream. What the hell? Naruto thought as he went searching for the source of the scream. He tracked it down to a red-haired girl with glasses who was about to be mauled by a massive bear. "Isn't that Karen from Sasuke team's group?" Naruto asked himself before he acted. He jumped in front of the bear and held out his hand. "Shinra Tensei," he exclaimed as the bear was blasted back. Naruto turned to the red-haired girl who scrabbled to get her glasses on. Once on, she got a clear look of Naruto and his chakra. It felt so warm to her yet wild like a lion. Just the feel of the chukar made her blush. He could see that her teammates had been killed by the bear if the blood on the claws and teeth gave anything away. "Are you okay?" Naruto asked as he took a knee next to her. Karen nodded slowly as she tried to control her blush. "Why yes," she said, but stumbled forward onto Naruto. Her blush intensified 100-fold as she felt his muscles under his shirt. "I sprained my ankle," she said softly. Naruto realized that this was a drastically different Karen than in his world. She hadn't been corrupted by Orochimaru yet. "I'll make sure you get to the tower safe," he said. As he summoned 3 clones, a horse-sized jackal. The blonde Baijuya placed the red head on the canine. "When you get to the tower, give them this," he said as he handed her a scroll. "This scroll puts you under the protection of my clan," he said. "Thank you," she said before the jackal started to move out with the clones around it. "Shadow clone jutsu," Naruto said as he made several clones and sent them into the forest. Naruto motioned for his team to stop suddenly. Below them was a group of IWA shinobi. "Watch," Naruto said with a small smirk before he vanished in a blur. On the ground below them the IWA team was talking. "We should go after the Namikaze group," the leader said. He and the rest of his team wore the typical IWA shinobi outfit. But Onaki-sama said that we were not to target Minato Namikaze's family for revenge. One of the other two said with a bit of fear in his voice, since he had felt Naruto's ki in the first exam and he didn't want to feel that power again. "Screw that old man. He may have forgiven that bastard Namikaze, but the rest of IWA hasn't. He wasn't someone who lost a loved one to the bastard during the war," the last one said in an angry tone. "Exactly, if we kill them then we'll be heroes in the village. We might even be given positions on the council or even replace that fossil with someone who isn't senile," the leader said with a cocky smirk as he thought about what he thought would happen if they killed the Namikazes. The other two now shared the same smirk. "Such unhealthy ambition," a voice said from behind them. They turned to see Naruto Namikaze leaning against a tree. "Well, look who's here. With your death we'll be legends," the leader said as he charged at the blonde who smirked. "Know your place, mortal," Naruto said with a dark grin. "Jinten missile punch," Naruto said before delivering a high-speed punch to the leader's chest. The punch was so powerful that it ripped through his clothing and turned the IWA shinobi's ribcage to dust. The shinobi went flying back from the force, only stopping when he collided with a large tree which nearly fell over from the force. "Time to end this, cat on demon lanterns," Naruto whispered. Several fireballs formed floating the air which then took the form of demonic heads. The demon heads then shot forward. The jutsu set everything the heads touched into an inferno. Several trees fell to the ground as the flames burned them down. In the trees, Narumi and Sayuri looked on in awe. They could hear the screams of pain from the IWA team echoing in the forest. Sayuri was the first to speak after the little performance. "Do you think he would teach me that jutsu?" Sayuri asked her best friend. Narumi was snapped out of her state of shock by her friend's question. "I don't think so. That has to be at least a rank jutsu." She answered her harem sister's question. Sayuri pouted at the Namikaze's answer. "Don't be so," said Sa-chan. "I'll teach it to you when I feel you can handle it," Naruto said from behind her. Sayuri turned to him and hugged him while chanting thank yous. Naruto was about to say something when he felt a familiar presence. "Amaterasu!" Naruto yelled while releasing a wave of black fire at a tree. A shadow jumped away from the tree before the black flames could touch the shinobi. Phew, it seems like one of the little genin has quite a potent attack. I had no idea there was another Mangekyo Sheri non-user alive," a disembodied voice said. Naruto flared his ki, causing the creepy chucking to stop. "Well, it seems that you have quite a bit of bite, Naruto-kun." Naruto had to refrain himself from yelling out at Orochimaru to come out and face him. Orochimaru might have been an insane psychopath, but he wasn't considered a genius for nothing. If he called Orochimaru out by his name, that would tip the snake Sunin off that something was wrong. Come on out. Narumi yelled out as she drew her katana. The creepy laugh returned as a grass ninja came out from the side of a tree. You seem confident, Orochimaru said in a fake female voice. Narumi and Sayuri dropped to their knees when he flared his own ki. Both girls had visions of their own deaths at the hands of Orochimaru. They knew that this wasn't what could happen, but rather what would happen if they fought him. Orochimaru was genuinely surprised to see Naruto not only completely ignoring his ki but putting out an even larger amount himself that put even the snake Sunin on edge. It seems you're a cut above the re. Before he could finish, Naruto had already landed several punches on his front. Fast, he thought as he flew back, but flipped in mid-air and landed on a tree branch. Thanks to Orochimaru being distracted by Naruto, the killer intent loosened enough so that Sayuri and Narumi could stand up. Naruto looked at his two lovers. Naru-chan, Sa-chan, you two have to run. I'll keep him busy, Naruto said as he released the first seal, so that he was now at 4 tails of power, which was how much it looked to almost kill Orochimaru in his world. Naruto's appearance changed from remaining in his human form. He now had 4 white tails coming out of his tailbone. His whiskers darkened and elongated while his canines became longer and sharper. His eyes changed to that of the Tengen as he glared at the Sunin. Time to die, Naruto said before he shot forward at Orochimaru. Both girls were shocked at the change but listened to Naruto in the end, since they knew that they would only get in his way. Orochimaru chucked, so a little genin thinks he can take me on by himself, the snake summoner said to the blonde who glared back at him. On the outside he seemed confident, but on the inside Orochimaru was slightly disturbed by the amount of power coming off of Naruto. You're a genin too, right? Naruto said with a slight smirk, so you mustn't be that powerful. Naruto said as he tried to punch Orochimaru in the face, but the snake Sunin sidestepped it and countered with a kick to Naruto's face. Naruto corrected himself as charged back at the snake summoner. The snake user let a dozen snakes fly out of his sleeves at towards, but much to his surprise Naruto blurred out of existence and appeared next to Orochimaru and delivered another attack to the side of his face. Jinten Meteor Strong Leg. Naruto yelled out as he did a Jinten version of Rock Lee's leaf Hurricane. The attack was too fast that Naruto's foot looked as if it was covered in flames of youth before it slammed into Orochimaru's face. The snake pedo Sunin flew through several trees before stopping. Not wanting to be outdone by a kid, Orochimaru opened his mouth to allow a fully restored version of himself out, as if molting his damage. The disguise was gone now, and now before him stood Orochimaru in his real form. It seems that you are not to be underestimated, but it's too late now, Sen'i Itajishu. Many hidden shadow snake hands. Several large snakes shot out of Orochimaru's arm and at Naruto. Shinra Tensei, Naruto said, let out a pulse of power which turned the snakes into a bloody pile of snake parts. Naruto held out his right hand, which mechanically transformed into a complex metallic cannon-like weapon, but with several barrels. Die, Naruto said coldly as he released a large amount of chakra bullets at the snake Sunin, who replaced himself with a mud clone, but several trees weren't so luck as they now sported several hundred holes. Naruto instantly felt a presence behind him. Another robotic arm ripped out through his clothing from his left shoulder and caught Orochimaru's sword before it could cut him in half. The blonde demon's other arm bent backwards at 160 degrees and opened up, releasing several wires that went to wrap around Orochimaru. The snake Sunin managed to dodge the wires but had to leave his sword behind in the hands of Naruto. Damn it, Futon, great breakthrough, the Sunin said as he exhaled a large and powerful gust of wind towards the Juubi. Naruto used Jinten to move out of the way, then charged up a Rasengan and ran at Orochimaru. The snake Sunin ran towards Naruto as well, with the Kusanagi pointed forwards in a stabbing motion. The second before they clashed, Naruto vanished without a trace. Orochimaru felt a strong pain in his back as Naruto pushed his demonic Rasengan into his spine. Not Wanting to be impaired from spinal damage, he regurgitated a fresh version of himself. Naruto growled at the Sunin who had once again escaped his death. That's it? No more playing around. Naruto roared out as he made 2 shadow clones. The 3 Narutos started to form a Rasengan, only this one was bluish-white and had 4 long curved blades. Naruto raised his hand up high with the S rank. Just to up into the air. Futon Rasen Shuriken. Naruto said before throwing the powerful attack. Orochimaru tried to dodge the attack, but Naruto manipulated the attack into him. The Rasen Shuriken hit Orochimaru and took him far into the air before it expanded. The expanded form of the jutsu was almost as big as the forest itself. All over the village, everyone looked at the white sphere in the sky. In both awe and fear. Inside the attack, Orochimaru felt each and every microscopic blade of wind cutting his chakra network and muscle cells. Once the attack ended, the snake Sunin's body fell from the sky and landed in front of Naruto unceremoniously. This is the end, Orochimaru, Naruto said as he drew a kunai. Phew phew phew, you fool, all I was doing was distracting you, Orochimaru laughed weakly. What? Naruto shouted in shock. Orochimaru smirked weakly as he started to decompose at a rapid rate. What you were fighting was a type of clone called a blood clone. An almost perfect replica of the original with equal amount of chakra and strength. By now both your little girlfriends have my curse marks, he laughed out before completely decomposing away. Naruto didn't even think about it as he high-shined to Sayuri's location. Naruto appeared next to the female Uchiha who was rolling in pain as she clutched the side of her neck. Shit! Naruto yelled as he ran towards the girl. Fuinjutsu heavenly sealing, Naruto said as he placed his palm over her curse seal. Removing it revealed that there was now a ring around it with 10 triangles pointing outward. Sayuri opened her eyes and looked at the Naruto. To her his image looked blurred, but she knew it was him. Narukun, Narumi-chan is fighting that monster, she said before losing consciousness. Naruto created a shadow clone and high-shined to the kunai he had given Narumi before they entered the forest of death. Naruto appeared a few meters from Narumi, who was currently on her knees, Orochimaru nearing to cut her in two. No. Naruto thought as he shot forward, pushing Narumi out of the way. Narumi looked up at Naruto. You okay, Naru-chan? Naruto asked her. Narumi stared at him wide-eyed. She was lightly trembling now. Nnna Naruke-kun, she stuttered. Yeah. Naruto asked. You arm? She shouted out as she saw that her lover only had one arm now. Narumi looked up at Naruto. You okay, Naru-chan? Naruto asked her. Narumi stared at him wide-eyed. She was lightly trembling now. Nnna Naruke-kun, she stuttered. Yeah. Naruto asked. You arm? She shouted out as she saw that her lover only had one arm now. Now Naruto looked at where his arm once was before he looked back at Narumi and smiled. It's just a scratch, no need to worry, Naru-chan. Naruto said completely calm. Just a scratch? It's missing. She yelled at her male counterpart, who was still smiling back at her without faltering in the slightest. It'll be fine, Naru-chan. The blonde demon said to his lover as placed her down against the side of the tree they were on. Naruto smiled slowly faded as he turned to Orochimaru. Naru-chan. I need you to close your eyes for me. I am about to take a form which I do not wish for you to see. Naruto said with completely seriousness. But Narumi tried to say something but was cut off by Naruto's growing presence. She could feel an ungodly amount of power starting to leak out. Naru-chan. I beg you to please close your eyes and keep them closed for a complete 10 seconds. Do not open them until that time is up. Naruto said as steam started to rise up from his body. Narumi could see the complete seriousness of the situation and closed her eyes. See that his lover's eyes were closed now. Naruto let his power loose. One out of Naruto's tailbone, even more tails sprouted out, giving him a grand total of 8 tails. His skin rapidly started to pale into a pure white while his hair darkened from the roots out and turned pitch black. In this, Orochimaru couldn't help but take a step back, but was frozen in place by the sheer amount of power being leaked from the demon. The sky changed from a light blue to a bloody red and the sun black as night. All across the elemental nations, every living being, both animal and human, civilian and ninja, and everything from genin to cage, felt as if an angry god had just awoken from its slumber and was passing his judgment on some poor fool who had angered it. Naruto's transformation progressed even further as a pulse of power shredded his shirt and coat, leaving his upper body exposed. From the top of his head, 2 white horns started to grow outward from the spiky black hair. One his back 10 spike grew out, 5 on the top and 5 on the bottom, with the image of the Rinnegan over 9 Tomo arranged in 3 rows of 3. Naruto watched as Orochimaru started to back away from his demonic before vanishing and reappearing in front of Orochimaru in a split second and slapped him through several trees. 4 Naruto appeared in front of the downed Orochimaru and proceeded to pick him up by the head and threw him against a large rock. However, before the snake Sunin could collide with the rock, he spat out a fully healed body. 5 Orochimaru started to sink into the ground, but Naruto was able to follow the traitor's movement with his jujutsu. The demon pointed a single finger at where the snake was hiding and formed a small black sphere out of pure chakra. 6 Naruto flicked his hand back and fired an attack at outrageous speeds towards the Sunin, who tried to get out of the attack's range, but the small ball followed his movements until it slammed into the ground above him. 7 Orochimaru shot out of the ground before the attack detonated on him and went for the trees. Naruto vanished from sight and appeared a mere meter in front of the snake summoner with his arm extended so the palm of his right hand was mere inches from the snake's face. 8 positive and negative energy rapidly fused to form a spiraling murky dark purple orb. Orochimaru only had time to widen his eyes before the ball flew across the small gap between his face and the palm. 9 Orochimaru went flying back as the orb forced him through everything in his path until he was about 100 meters from where he originally was. 10 The purple sphere finally exploded, destroying Orochimaru's entire body and anything within about 30 meters, leaving a massive crater in the middle. Narumi opened her eyes after the count of 10. She had felt so much in those 10 seconds that she had her eyes closed. She had felt the wave of power that had spread across the elemental nations and was shaken by it. It felt like pure and absolute power was passing through her entire body. The power itself like one giant paradox. It was both wild, but it was also focused. It was dark and malicious, but at the same time it felt like a warm embrace from a loved one. She looked up to see her lover standing in front of her. Naruto was once again in his normal form but was still missing his arm. "I'm sorry it took so long, Naruchan, but I managed to finish off the annoying snake," the now blonde again demon said with a cheerful smile. "So he's dead?" the blonde girl asked the Juubi, who frowned at the question. "Yes, he's dead, but I don't know how long that will last. I have a feeling that I have only staled him and he'll be back," Naruto said to his girlfriend. While he had said that it was only a feeling, Naruto knew that the snake Sunin would be back by the Chunin exam finals, just like he had been revived by Kabuto during the war using Anko's curse mark. As long as someone held Orochimaru's curse mark, there was always the chance that the snake would come back. Narumi's eyes widened. "Sayuri-chan. We have to help her," the blonde yelled as she rushed to her best friend's location. Naruto sighed and absorbed his arm before he followed after her until they found themselves at the same clearing where he along with Sasuke and Sakura had been ambushed by the sound team back in his world. The two arrived just in time to see Sayuri break Zaku's arms. Naruto's eyes widened when he saw the black flame-like markings on Sayuri's skin. "Impossible. How did the curse mark activate when I sealed it away with one of my seals?" Naruto thought in a panic until it dawned on him. He had been too late and the corrupted chakra had already entered Sayuri's own system and had been able to use the Uchiha's own chakra to erode the seal away. "Damn it. I swear that if I ever see that snake again, I'll take his soul and deliver it directly to the Shinigami. Naruto thought in rage as he grabbed Sayuri from behind. Stop Sa-chan, it's over, Naruto said as he pushed his chakra into Sayuri's system to wash away the dark chakra from the seal. The black-haired Kunoichi relaxed into his arm and fell unconscious. Naruto handed Sayuri to Narumi, who brought her back under a tree. What happened to my clone? Naruto asked as he looked around to the injured Team 10 and Team 9. Our idiot of a teammate thought you were trying to kidnap her and attacked. Tenten said with a sigh. Why did she have to be stuck with the most energetic genin in the village? He tried to fight your clone and got the shit beaten out of him, but he managed to land a blow before fainting and popped it. Naruto sighed and rubbed the bridge of his nose. This is such a pain in the ass. Naruto said to himself, but everyone was able to hear it. How the hell did all of this go so wrong? I already knew what would happen, but Sayuri still got the curse mark and I lost my arm. I could grow it back now, but it would only lead to more questions from Narumi. I guess I'll have to leave it as it is for now and regrow it when Narumi leaves with Jiraiya to train. Naruto thought before he turned to the sound team. Look now, we will be leaving now. Dosu as he placed the scroll on the ground, but Naruto wouldn't have it. The blonde charged in and pierced the sound shinobi through the chest with his single arm. Looking at Zuko, Naruto lit the other shinobi on fire with his jujutsu. The last of the sound team looked on in horror as she watched her teammates die right in front of her. Naruto turned to her, and then there was one. Naruto said in a low but dangerous tone as he slowly walked over to the Kunoichi. Kin fell to her knees and started to cry, please don't kill me, she begged the blonde demon who was now standing right in front of her. I never wanted to be part of that snake bastard's plan in the first place. He killed my family and everyone in my village before he took me to his hideouts to add me to his forces. She gabbled to the blonde who looked at her with a calculation expression. Naruto could see the truth in her words and made his choice. Very well, you shall be allowed to come with us under the condition that you let yourself be questioned and tell us everything you know about the snake. Naruto said coldly as he talked about the traitorous snake. Yes. I'll tell you everything I know, just get me away from that village, King cried to Naruto, who smiled lightly and picked her up bridal style and carried her next to Sayuri. Rest 4. Now, Naruto said as he went to check on Team 10 and Rock Lee. Is she alright? Naruto asked as he arrived by Ino's side. She was unconscious and looked very tired, probably from using her family's jutsu so much. Yeah, she was controlling the body of that sound Kunoichi when her teammates tried to kill her, even if she was killing their own teammate. Disgusting, Shikamaru said with hatred in his voice as he looked over at what remained of the sound team, not counting Kin. Here, this will help her, Naruto said as he took out a herb from one of his pockets. This herb speeds up cell reproduction and helps fix any and all internal injuries, Naruto said as he took a knee next to his blonde girlfriend. You'll be alright, Ino-chan, Naruto said as he placed a glowing green hand on her forehead to heal her tired mind. Removing his hand, the blonde leaned down and kissed her forehead. Come on, I'll take all of you to the tower, Naruto said as he gathered all his allies around him. Narumi carried Sayuri while Shikamaru carried Ino. The only ones who didn't join in were Team 9. We still don't have our scroll, Niji said as he and Tenten left with Rock Lee. Naruto sighed at Niji's attitude, but focused on getting his team and Team 10 to the tower. He had managed to get a Hiraishinko now there thanks to one of his clones who had arrived there a bit before. Hiraishin, Naruto muttered, and in an instant group of 7 were at the tower. Both teams opened their scrolls and tossed them forward so that they crossed each other. In 2 plumes of smoke, the senseis of both teams appeared before them. Kazumi Nichan, what are you doing here? Narumi asked her sensei, who looked at her and then at Sayuri. The silver-haired woman's eyes narrowed. What happened? She asked. We were attacked by Orochimaru in the forest. I managed to fight him away, but he left his curse seal on Shan and was able to cut off my arm," Naruto said as he wiggled his stub. Kazumi's eyes widened at this. "Are the two of you all right?" she asked the blonde, who smiled back at her. The older Kunoichi looked perplexed as she looked at Naruto's smile. She couldn't help but blush at the look on his face. She would be lying if she said that she hadn't developed feelings for the blonde, but after all she had experienced, she couldn't let herself be distracted by a crush. "It's just a scratch," Naruto said calmly as he took Sayuri from Narumi's arms and walked away. Looking back at his lover, "Go get something to eat and some sleep. I'll go seal away this damn curse mark again," Naruto said as he took the Uchiha with him into a private room he had asked the Hokage for. The blonde placed Sayuri on the kind-sized bed and prepared several hand signs. "Kishin Fujin," Naruto said as he placed his own version of the Shiki Fujin, except that this one didn't require a sacrifice but was considerably weaker. The area around the curse seal glowed a dark red, which replaced the 3 tomo on her neck with the image of his Shikifun but a 10-pointed star in place of the swirl. That should completely suppress it this time. "It is my most powerful Fuinjutsu right now," Naruto said to himself as he slumped into a nearby chair. Going 8 tails then using the Kishin Fujin had taken quite the toll on his body. Naruto relaxed his body before he fell asleep. Day of the preliminaries. A lot had happened since Naruto and his team had arrived at the tower in the middle of the Forest of Death. Naruto had a meeting with Hiruzen and Danzo to discuss the events of the forest. The two were less than pleased that the snake had managed to get his mark on Sayuri, and releasing it would release a living copy of Orochimaru. The last thing they needed was 2 insane pedophiles that hated them running around. They also didn't like that Naruto had lost an arm but accepted that he sacrificed it to save Narumi. Naruto had lied to them and told them that he would be able to regrow it in a few months. He could have done it there, but he didn't need to be asked any more questions. Narumi was already grilling him about the tails and power. Spiky Naruto told them how he would ask the Shinigami to see if there was a way of removing the soul out of the seal so that he could extract the soul and then destroy the seal. He would have tried absorbing the seal, but the possibility of having the snake Sannin in his mind trying to take control of him like Kurama had done all those years ago wasn't number one of things to have. The 3 leaders of Konoha had also discussed what they were going to do about Kin and Karen. In the end they had decided that Karen would be given asylum in the Namikaze clan compound while Kin would be questioned but not harmed physically for any and all information she had on Orochimaru. Unfortunately, since she was a genin, so she didn't have much. Now here they were in the main room of the tower where all the battles would take place. More people had passed this time than in his world. This time Kabuto's team hadn't made it in time and were kicked from the exam. The teams that had passed were Teams 7, 8, 9 and 10 from Konoha, Gaia's team, and 2 teams from the Cloud, which surprisingly enough was Killer Bee's genin team of Samui, Karui, and Amwa. The next was the team of who he recognized as an expert medic from Kyumo, Yujito the Nibi Jinchuriki, and another unimportant genin who Naruto hadn't met before. What had surprised Naruto was not only that Yujito was actually younger in this world while everyone else was normally older than in his world, but that she was still a genin and looked about 20. All the teams lined you next to each other as they looked up at the gathered crowd of all the Jonin sensei and a few others standing next to the Hokage who was smoking his pipe. Congratulations all of you, you have all earned the right to stand here today by proving that you could best Konoha's own forest of ever. Do any of you know why we have the Chunin exams in different villages than your home one? The old man asked. To test our strength against the shinobi and kunoichi of other villages so that we can attract more attention to our home so that we gain more power and jobs. The third member of Yujito's team Hiruzen nodded. While that is a very important factor in the Chunin exam, that is not the main reason for them. So, that's it for today. I hope you guys like it and enjoyed the story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel for great stories like this. Thank you, see you soon in next video.